Okay, so I think we're recording. So welcome back, everybody. Now I have instructed my wonderful, gorgeous camera assistant to be very creative with the camera motions. So if you find some zooming in and out and stuff and looking at interesting places in the room, don't worry about it. As long as we hear the voice, we'll be okay. So where are we? We're still on the acquisition campaign. And if you could zoom in on this slide so that people actually see the text there. The acquisition campaign again, we create the references, we identify our target companies, we identify the job functions within those target companies, we find the numbers, we organize ourselves and we start doing the calls. Our first goal is a meeting, our second goal is a telephone presentation or something equivalent to that. And our third goal is sending the material and getting the material out to the clients at the end. This is the wishy-washy goal, but has to happen as well. Then finally, we compile the results, we write a report, and we follow up on the acquisition campaign so that we really give it a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, we're going to speak about the organization of this and the way that this whole process fits within a company. Because if you just tell one person to do the stuff on that chart, they will not do it. Especially if it's a salesperson, because salespeople inherently don't like doing cold calls for many different reasons. A lot of salespeople tell me that they prefer going to the dentist. If you give them a choice of doing cold calls or going to the dentist, they'll actually go to the dentist. You know, it's more fun having a tooth pulled out than it is putting together a couple of calls to sell some stuff. And there are good reasons for this, and probably the main reason is this fact that when you go into call activity, you have to deal with a lot of failure, and you have to put up with a lot of failure. So you need a thick skin, and the thicker the skin, the better. So there's a lot of motivation issues associated with doing a call campaign. And so that's what we focus on now. So the first thing you need is a boss. Okay? So this is the boss. And the boss, because he's the boss, will probably be miserable and depressed. But what we're going to do is we're going to go to this boss and we're going to make him give us a couple of things. Hang on. Who are you talking about, Tim? What I'm talking about, or the people that I'm talking about, are here. Now, these are 3 salespeople. They're just normal sales reps. And they've got one thing in common. They hate cold calls. They've got another thing in common. On their job description, there's a line in their job description, or their boss tells them that a part of their job description is to do a certain amount of calls per month. In some salespeople have, like, you have to do 10 calls a month, or you have to spend so and so many times per month in acquisition activity. This never really works, apart from the very, I don't know, I've never met a salesperson who is really stuck rigidly to what's in their job description when it comes to acquisition campaigning. So these 3 reps are going to get together and they're going to say to each other and agree with each other, we will do an acquisition campaign. We agree together to go through the process of doing one of these things. And that's the first thing that needs to happen. Why 3? Well, they normally say that 3 is company and 2 is a crowd. But in the purpose of acquisition campaigning, we found that 3 actually works better, because these 2 will speak about this person and call them nasty things, and then this person will go to this person and say, do you know what he said about you? And they'll gang up on him, and this person will then speak to this person, etc., etc. So basically they do a little bit of self-motivation within the team. 2 people together will decide not to do the calls. 3 people together, having decided that it's important, they'll put more emphasis and focus behind it, they'll free up the time, and they'll make sure that it gets done. 3 generally works better than 2. I'm not actually sure why, but we've seen that it has a better impact overall. So as I say, these three guys are going to say, we will do an acquisition campaign. Yeah, so we'll go through the pain of doing all of this stuff. So they go to their boss and they say, boss, we are going to do some cold calls. And their boss, when he hears these magic words, will no longer be a sad, miserable boss. He'll be a happy, uplifted, motivated boss who gives everybody pay rises. He'll be happy, yeah, because somebody is finally going to do something about cold calling in his organization. So using this happiness, this team will say to the boss, boss, we need a couple of things, yeah? The first thing that we need is resources. Resources. Now, the physical resources that will be necessary are telephones. They will need a room, a place where they can do the cold calls. They need a quiet environment where they can run the calls from. And the room may need to be dedicated for 2 or maybe even 3 days in a month. Yeah? So this type of resource. Another potential type of resource that they may ask for, let's put a couple of them here. Yeah? There we go. Now I know this is the perfect world, but we're on film, so we can speak about the perfect world. So these guys in blue, these are new, young blood sales reps. These are fresh salespeople. So these guys who are old and experienced and fat and ugly and smell, they say to the boss, come on boss, give us a couple of new, fresh sales reps, and we can show them and teach them how to do this job. Yeah? What they actually mean is that these guys can become slaves and do all of the work. But what they say to the boss is, we'll teach these guys the tricks of the trade and they'll learn from us, the professionals and stuff. They also say, this person is from marketing. Yeah? Ooh, marketing. Ha-ha! Marketing. Yeah, I know there are some marketing people out there saying, yes, Tim, what's the problem with marketing? You haven't spoken about us at all in this whole pipeline of sales process that you've been showing us. You haven't said anything about marketing people. Yeah? Well, that's because you're completely useless and you don't actually help salespeople in the sales process. But your time has actually come. There is one place in the sales process where marketing functions and departments really do become very, very instrumental and valuable. In the perfect world, I'm working with a couple of companies where marketing drive this whole thing because they see it as being a place where they can really add a lot of value and get a lot of leverage out of their organizations and get closer to sales. Yeah. So these guys will say, here's a young person in marketing. Maybe we can use them as well just to keep the contact data together and make sure that everything is correct when it comes to the paperwork and stuff. Yeah. Is it all right with the camera?
There's a yellow thing flashing, so I wasn't sure
Okay.
if the power.
That's strange.
It started to count down. It said 5 minutes and then said 4 minutes, and then I was just worried it would cut off.
3 minutes. I think it might actually be battery space or disk space. Okay.